Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 67, A. Top of the page with the words Simana Be'alma. It is merely a mnemonic. The verse is not relevant to this halacha, and it is cited merely as a sign indicating that just as the halacha of a betrothed young woman pertains to her first act of intercourse, so too the halacha of the daughter of a priest who committed adultery pertains to a case where it is her first disqualification from the priesthood. Starting a new Mishnah. Mishnah Hamesis Zehedyoit. Ve'Hamesis es Hahedyoit. Omar Yesh Yireh b'makam ploini. Kach ocheles, kach shoise, kach metiva, kach merio. With regard to the case of an insider listed among those liable to be executed by stoning, this is an ordinary person, not a prophet, and it is referring to one who incites an ordinary person and not a multitude of people. What does the inciter do? He says there is an idol in such and such a place, which eats like this, drinks like this, does good for its worshippers like this, and harms those who do not worship it like this. Kol chaya b'mitzvos shebetoira ein machminin aleihem chutz mizo. The Mishnah states a principle with regard to the halacha of an insider, with regard to all of those mentioned in the Torah who are liable to receive the death penalty. If there are no witnesses to their transgressions, the court does not hide witnesses in order to ensnare and punish them, except for this case of an insider. Amar l'shnayim hein edov mevinoso leves din v'sokonosoi. Amar le'echad hu omer yesh li chaverim oisim bekach. The Mishnah elaborates, if the inciter said his words of incitement to two men, they are his witnesses, and he does not need to be warned before the transgression. They bring him to court and stone him. If he said his words of incitement to one man alone, that man's testimony would not be sufficient to have the inciter executed. Therefore, he says to the inciter, I have friends who are interested in this. Tell them too. This way, there will be more witnesses. So, just going back on the earlier statement, in the case of an insider, one is allowed to make a sting operation, so to speak, like a entrapment or like a setup. And this is not the case with other types of things, but in the case of an insider, it's saying that we can do a sting operation, which is deception, but it's allowed in this case apparently. Im haya arum ve'enu yachol ledavar b'fneihem machminin lo edi machoire hagader. The Mishnah continues: if the inciter is cunning and he knows that he cannot speak in front of two men, the court hides witnesses for him behind the fence so that he will not see them. Machminin lo ed machmei hageder. V'hu omer lo emor ma shemarta b'yichud. V'hala omer lo v'hu omer lo hech nagiach es Eloheinu shebashamayim v'nelech v'navor etzim avanim. Im chozer bo harei ze mutav. Im omar kach hu chovotenu kach yafe lanu hamdin me'achorei hageder ve'evin oto lebeit din v'sokon oto. So, they hide witnesses. Let's say he knew that if he told two people, he wouldn't, he's only saying it to one person with intention, because he knows that one person can't make him guilty for the death penalty. So, what they're saying here in the Mishnah is the court hides witnesses for him behind the fence so that he will not see them. And the man whom the inciter had previously tried to incite says to him, "Say what you said to me when we were in seclusion." And the other person says, the inciter says to him again that he should worship the idol. And he says to the inciter, "How can we forsake our God in heaven and go and worship wood and stones?" If the inciter retracts his suggestion, that is good. But if he says, "This idol worship is our duty, this is what suits us," then those standing behind the fence bring him to court and have him stoned. Ha'omer e'evod, elech ve'evod, nelech ve'na'avod, ezbach, elech ve'ezbach, nelech ve'nezbach, aktir, elech ve'aktir, nelech ve'naktir, anasech, elech ve'anasech, nelech u'nenasech, eshtachave, elech ve'eshtachave, nelech ve'nishtachave. The halacha of an inciter includes one who says, "I shall worship idols," or one of the following statements: "I shall go and worship idols," or "Let us go and worship idols," or "I shall sacrifice an idolatrous offering," or "I shall go and sacrifice an idolatrous offering," or "Let us go and sacrifice an idolatrous offering," or "I shall burn incense as an idolatrous offering," or "I shall go and burn incense," or "Let us go and burn incense," or "I shall pour an idolatrous libation," or "I shall go and pour a libation," or "Let us go and pour a libation," or "I shall bow to an idol," or "I shall go and bow," or "Let us go and bow." Okay, and now the Talmud. Hamesis Zehediot. Time the Hediot Hanavi Bechenek. Ve'amesis Esa Hediot Time the Yachid Harabi Bechenek. The Mishnah teaches, with regard to the case of an inciter, this is an ordinary person. The Gemara infers the reason he is executed by stoning is that he is an ordinary person, but if he is a prophet, he is executed by strangulation, not by stoning. The Mishnah states further, and it is referring to one who incites an ordinary person. The Gemara infers the reason he is executed by stoning is that he incited an individual, but if he subverted a multitude of people, he is executed by strangulation. Masni Sanmani Rabbi Shimon Titania Navi Shehadiach Biskila. Rabbi Shimon Omer Bechenek Madiche Iranidachas Biskila. Rabbi Shimon Omer Bechenek. Consequently, whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah. It is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, as it is taught in a Braita. A prophet who subverted others to participate in idol worship is executed by stoning. Rabbi Shimon says he is executed by strangulation. Likewise, the subverters of an idolatrous city are executed by stoning. Rabbi Shimon says by strangulation. Amos Seifo. The Gemara challenges, say the last clause of the Mishnah. Hamadiach zeh oimer ne'elch v'navoid avoid zoeh. Ve'omer Rav Yehuda Rav Mediche Irenidachas Shanu Asan leRabbanon Reisha Rav Shimon v'Sefer Rabbanon. The Gemara challenges, say the last clause of the Mishnah, meaning say the following Mishnah with regard to the case of the subverter listed among those liable to be executed by stoning. This is one who says, "Let us go and worship idols." And Rav Yehuda says, that Rav says, in this Mishnah, the sages taught the case of the subverters of an idolatrous city. Here we arrive at the opinion of the rabbis, who hold that those who incite a multitude of people are also executed by stoning. Is it possible that the first clause of the Mishnah expresses the opinion of Rabbi Shimon and the last clause expresses that of the rabbis? Ravina Amar Kulana Bananhi. Velozu Avzu Ketani. Ravina says the entire Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis, and the Tana teaches the Mishnah employing the style of not only this but also that. In other words, the Mishnah should be explained as follows. Not only is one who incites an individual executed by stoning, but even one who subverts an entire city is executed by stoning. Rav Papa Amar Ki Katani Meses Sehedyot Lehachmana. What Rav Papa says, when the Mishnah teaches with regard to one who incites that this is referring to an ordinary person, is not indicating that a prophet is not included in this halacha. Rather, it is referring to the hiding of witnesses behind a fence in order to ensnare the inciter, as his life is treated with contempt and derision, as though he were an ordinary person, meaning a simpleton. Okay. Ditanya Usha'ar kol chayav mitzvah shebetecha ein machminin alehen chutz mizo. And the Sanhedrin writes up, and with regard to all the rest of those liable to receive the death penalty by Torah law, the court does not hide witnesses in order to ensnare them and punish them except for this case of an inciter. Let's see how much we have left here. I think we can finish it. Let's see here how much time we have left. Okay. Okay. Okay, Kate said Osin Lo. You know what? I'll put on pause and start in a different location. Continue at a different location. Continuing from where we were, Kate said Osin Lo. Madlikin lo es haner bebeis hapnimi, ומושיבים לו עדים בבית החיצון, כדי שיהיו הן רואים אויסון ושומעים את קולו. והוא אינו רואה אויסון, והלא אומר לו, אמור מה שאמרת לי בייחוד, והוא אומר לו, והלא אומר, איך נגיח את אלוהינו שבשמיים, נעבוד עבודה זרה, אם חוזר בו מוטב, אם אמר כך הוא חובתנו, כך יפה לנו, העדים ששומעים בחוץ מביאים אותו, the Bezdin v'Soiklon. So how does the court do this to him? The agents of the court light a candle. The agents of the court light a candle for him in an inner room, and they place witnesses for him in an outer room in the dark, so that they can see him and hear his voice, but he cannot see them. And the other person, whom the inciter had previously tried to incite, says to him, "Say to me what you said when we were in seclusion." And he says to him again that he should worship the idol. And the other person says to him, "How can we forsake our God in heaven and worship idols?" If the inciter retracts his suggestion, that is good. But if he says this idol worship is our duty, and this is what suits us, the witnesses, or listening from outside, bring him to court, and they have him stoned. V'chein asulven stada belod, utalu be'erev Pesach, utalu be'erev Pesach, ben stada. What's the gematria of ben stada? Let's see. 126. Interesting. Okay. And the court did the same to an inciter named Ben Stada from the city of Lod, and they hanged him on Passover Eve. Ben Stada, Ben Pandirahu. Amar Rav Chizda, Baal Stada, Boel Pandira. Baal, Papus Ben Yehudahu. Ela Imo Stada, Imo, Miriam Magdala. Nashia Havai, Kede Amrei, Bepumbadita, Stat Da Mi Baala. The Gemara asks, why did they call him Ben Stada when he was the son of Pandera? Rav Chizda says, perhaps his mother's husband, who acted as his father, was named Stada, but his mother's lover who fathered this mamzer, was named Pandera. Let's see here. Pandira. Let's see. Pandira. Ben Pandira, 397. Pandira, 345. Pandira. The Gemara challenges, but his mother's husband was Papas ben Yehuda, not Stada. Rather, perhaps his mother was named Stada, and he was named Ben Stada after her. The Gemara challenges, but his mother was Miriam, who braided women's hair. The Gemara explains this is not a contradiction. Stada was merely a nickname. Stada. So, 74. Wow. Stada. Stada was a nickname. The Gemara challenges, but his mother was Miriam, who braided women's hair. The Gemara explains that is not a contradiction. Stada was merely a nickname. As they say in Pumbedita, this one strayed from her husband, like a sota, Stada. Okay. New Mishnah. From Lod. Okay. New Mishnah. With regard to the case of the subverter listed among those liable to be executed by stoning, this is one who says to a multitude of people, let us go and worship idols. Hamechashef, Oseh Maseh Chayav, Velo Haochel Zetaynaim. Rabbi Kiva Omer Mishum Rabbi Yehoshua, Shneim Loktin Keshuin Echad Loket Patur ve'echad Loket Chayav, Oseh Maseh Chayav, Haochel Zetaynaim Patur. The warlock is also liable to be executed by stoning. One who performs a real act of sorcery is liable, but not one who deceives the eyes, making it appear as though he is performing sorcery, like most magicians today. And as that is not considered sorcery. Rabbi Akiva says in the name of Yehoshua, for example, two people can each gather cucumbers by sorcery. One of them gathers cucumbers and he's exempt, and the other one gathers cucumbers and he's liable. How so? The one who performs a real act of sorcery is liable, and the one who deceives the eyes is exempt. Gemara. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Madichei ira nidachas. Nidach. Mimenu nidach. Something like that. Al yidach, mimenu yidach. Nidach. Nidach. 62. Not bad. Okay. Here hanidachas. Shanukan. Okay, with regard to the case of subverters mentioned in the Mishnah, Yehuda says that Rav said the sages taught here the case of the subverters of an idolatrous city. Accordingly, there is no halachic difference between one who incites individuals to idolatry and one who subverts an entire city. Both are liable to be executed by stoning. The Mishnah teaches that the case of the warlock is referring to one who performs a real act of sorcery. The sages taught in the Brisa, the first, you shall not allow a witch to live. Exodus 22:17 does not refer only to a female who practices sorcery. Both to a man and a woman both a man and a woman are included. If so, why does the verse state a witch, machshefa? Because most women are familiar with witchcraft. And perhaps more women enter that trade than men. I don't know. Okay. Misasan b'meh. Rabbi Yossi Glili Omer. Nemar kan machshifa lo tichayeh. V'ne'emar lehalan lo tichayeh kol nishama. Malachal b'saif afkan b'saif. In what manner is their death sentence administered? Rabbi Yossi Glili says, it is stated here, you shall not allow a witch to live. And it is stated there with regard to the conquest of the Canaanites, you shall allow nothing that breathes to live. Deuteronomy 20:16. Just as if the Canaanites were to be killed by the sword, see Numbers 21:24. So to here, the execution of a witch is administered by the sword. Rabbi Kiva Oimer, never come never halan im behema. Im ish los ichaye malahan miskila afka miskilo. Rabbi Kiva says it is stated here, you shall not allow a witch to live. And it is stated there with regard to Mount Sinai, no hand shall touch it, for he shall be stoned or shot or thrown down. Whether it be an animal or man, it shall not live. Exodus 19:13. Just as there the verse speaks of stoning, so to here a witch is executed by stoning. אמר רבי יוסי, אני דנתי לא תחיה מלא תחיה, ואתה דנת לא תחיה מלא יחיה. Rabbi Yossi said to him, I derive the meaning of the verse, you shall not allow a witch to live, from the verse, you shall allow nothing that breathes to live, via verbal analogy between two similar phrases. That you derive the meaning of the verse, you shall not allow a witch to live, from the verse, it shall not live, which is a less similar phrase. אמר לו רבי קיבא, אני דנתי ישראל מישראל, שריבה בהן הכתוב, מיתות הרבה, ואתה דנת ישראל מגויים, שלא ריבה בהן הכתוב, אלא מיסה אחת. Okay, Rabbi Kiva told him, I derived a halacha concerning Jews from a halacha concerning Jews, with regard to whom the verse included many types of death penalties. Therefore, the fact that the expression, it shall not live, refers to stoning, when stated with regard to Jews, is especially significant. But you derive the halacha concerning Jews from a halacha concerning Gentiles, with regard to whom the verse included only one type of death penalty, namely decapitation. Since that is the only type of capital punishment that applies to Gentiles, it cannot be derived through a verbal analogy that the same type applies to a Jewish sorcerer. Now we're on top of 67b, to be continued in the next video, God willing.